Once you witness the highest performing person and the lowest performing person at a company both get laid off, it will literally change the way you think about corporate. It will change how you think about layoffs. From experience, the one sign that a layoff is imminent is that the leadership, the managers, the people that are senior to you start going elsewhere. That's one side that a layoff is coming, because a lot of the times the people that are above you, the people that are more senior to you, they have more information, and the rate at which they get that information is a lot faster than you would. If you're new to that company, you've been there for less than 2 years, or you are a junior. So you actually cannot get as much information. So for me, I kind of just ignored this. And by the time that a layoff was there, or like it came, it was too late. It was when they were announcing it, and it was basically the chopping block. So by paying attention to LinkedIn, by really keeping a close ear to what's happening with leadership, by watching who's leaving at what time, and if there's people like literally one leaves and then the other, and then that is a sign that something is coming down the pipeline. It's coming your way. So watch out. An important thing to remember is that being laid off does not mean that you're not important or you didn't bring value. It just means that when it comes to the dollar amount or whatever arbitrary rules that they use to, get rid of certain people, a lot of the times your manager doesn't even know that you're getting cut until you're getting cut. They might not know that they're getting cut until they're getting cut. A lot of these decisions don't make sense either, because how are you letting go of your highest performing people, or like certain teams that are doing very well? So I'm sure there's optics and politics involved, as any career and such. Follow for more, and let me know if you would like me to post more videos about layoffs and how to know and the signs and such.
It's time for a job search update. I know I've been keeping the few of you that care waiting, but I wanted to give myself some time to adjust, and I've also not been super sure how much I can share. Quick context, I got laid off from my tech job earlier this year and spent almost 9 months kind of unemployed, as I like to say, because I worked part-time in a couple yoga studios, and I consulted, freelanced, and kept myself very busy, all while applying to jobs and sharing my days here. It was genuinely the most transformative almost 9 months I've ever had. I learned so much about myself and about what I was looking for in my next job. I kind of fell into my last role through an internship, and I definitely knew I needed change, and getting laid off was kind of the kick in the ass to make some change. I am now on the social team at Levi's, which is kind of a crazy turn of events. I'll talk more in another video about how I got this job, but for now, that is my news. I'm so excited. I'm working hybrid, which is really fun. I was working from home before, and yeah, I'm just really excited to be fully employed. Okay, love you, bye.
Nothing pisses me off more than hearing about people being laid off right before the holidays. You will never be able to convince me that these organizations don't know exactly what they're doing by waiting until the end of the year to fire people with no regard on how it'll affect them, with no regard the financial burden that'll come to them and their families. They know exactly what they're doing, okay? I'm not sure what's going on in those meetings, if they're saying it's performance-based or, we're so sorry, we never saw this coming. We know the timing is not ideal. It's out of our hands. Bullshit. Okay, let me tell you the top 4 reasons why these companies will continue to do mass layoffs right before the holidays, right before the end of the year, and it will piss you off, okay, if you're not pissed off already. Number 1, shocker, cost cutting for year-end financials. A lot of companies will aim to reduce expenses right before the end of the year so that they can meet or exceed their financial metrics. And the quickest way to do that is through layoffs, okay? Nothing is more expensive than the workforce. So layoffs are a good way in the eyes of these companies to boost profitability and limit losses right before they send out year-end reports. They will much rather look good in the eyes of the stakeholders than do good by the employees that have dedicated parts of their lives to that company. It's really sad. Number 2, tax and accounting advantages. I told you it'll piss you off. So if a company does layoffs before the end of the fiscal year, it will allow them to classify severance packages and restructuring costs as tax write-offs. Improving their financial standing for next year. Economic uncertainty and market conditions is another reason why companies would perform mass layoffs at the end of the year. There's a lot of insider information that is being shared at the top of these organizations with these shareholders. Do you guys remember in 2019 when a lot of these CEOs were stepping down from their position right before the pandemic? Also, given the most recent presidential election, it does not take a rocket scientist to know that the economy is going to change. So a lot of these organizations are anticipating higher operational costs, leading them to preemptively reduce workforce expenses. And number 4, a shift in strategic priorities. A lot of companies will use Q4 to assess different departments and projects. And if they decide that they have different future priorities, then they can easily cut, resources that are no longer serving, the direction that they want to go in. I truly feel like the way organizations conduct mass layoffs is a reflection of the core essence of how they operate as a business. A lot of companies, particularly in the tech industry, have piss poor practices when it comes to layoffs. It is clear that they will always choose finances and the bottom line over employees. And I feel like that needs to be clocked. Okay, so consider it clocked. Let me know in the comments if these are any of the reasons that they shared with you as to why they were conducting mass layoffs, or if this is something that you already knew. All right, and make sure to follow me for more career advice.
Just lost access to everything while I was talking to my old coworker about someone else who was impacted by the layoff. So it's just tough out there. But yeah, it's surreal. The golden handcuffs are gone. Gone.
I busted my ass and I was just laid off. These companies do not care about us. They want us to give us a 2-week notice, but yet can just fire us and ruin our lives on the spot any day that they choose. I have a 2-year-old son, no savings, which is my fault, and it doesn't fucking matter. So now I have to go back on the job hunt. And I have to get a work from home job because I have a 2-year-old that I have to take care of. Can't afford daycare. Rent is $2,500 where I live. Now I gotta find out how to pay off my lease early because there's no way that we could afford to live here. I don't even have a computer. They just locked me out of my computer. I really thought that the culture at my job was great, the best that it's ever been. And for them to just lay me off, not even based off of performance, because my manager just shouted me out today, saying I'm doing a great job, and then fired me.
Welcome to week 10 of unemployment. I'm officially out of fingers now after 10, so maybe I'll make a little sign. In terms of job updates, no new interviews, but I think I'm at about 75 applications that I've submitted online now since mid-January. There are some friends of mine who have applied to probably over 200 jobs in the past 2 months, but then there's also some friends of mine who have not applied to any. What's been really fascinating about the layoffs, there's a very clear divide of people who are really rushing into trying to find a new job as soon as they can, and then you have some people who are really not in a rush at all. They're traveling, they're taking time off. I'm kind of curious, if you were to be laid off, or if you have been laid off, I guess, what would you do? Do you think you would take some time off and enjoy the downtime, or do you think you'd want to rush back into finding a job? I do think a part of the reason is due to social media and how there's just been a rise of a lot of Gen Z and also millennials who are kind of going against the corporate 9-to-5 culture. I don't know if anyone else in Seattle feels like this, but I feel like Seattle, because it's so heavy with big tech jobs, there's really not very many jobs available right now because big tech is the one doing all the layoffs. So I think for now, I'm actually going to expand my search to outside of Seattle, within LA, Orange County, the Bay Area, as well as New York. Obviously, relocation isn't ideal, but I think I'm open to considering relocation for the right opportunity. So quick plug, if you or anyone you know need a recruiter who is experienced in university recruiting, executive recruiting, tech recruiting, let me know, because maybe I might be the person that you're looking for. But I have considered opportunities outside of recruiting, like marketing, because right now as a content creator, I do a lot of, creative stuff like vision boards, coming up with marketing concepts, negotiations, things like that. With so many people getting laid off across all different jobs, I feel like it's a really tough time to transition into a role that I've never done before professionally. Last Friday was officially my last day of employment with Google. I did receive the severance agreement in my email. I haven't signed it yet though. Will I sign it? Yes. I just haven't gotten to it yet because I do want to read over it again just to triple check. We'll say it's definitely a weird feeling. I've never been unemployed before. I've been working since high school, and this is kind of a weird phase in my life where I just have no idea what I want to do and I have all this extra time. I've had a lot of people ask me how I'm feeling about the job market right right now. Honestly, I feel like, yes, I'll find a job sooner than later, but I do think it's gonna take me a lot longer than I anticipated. All jokes aside, the layoffs have definitely been incredibly humbling and has really just put my life into perspective. I've always been the type to not take work so seriously, but I think it took being laid off to realize how much of my identity was rooted in my work.
Quick recruiting update, because some of you guys have asked me how my job search has been. So it's been about a month since I was laid off, and since then I've applied for 12 positions. I have an entire spreadsheet because I have to track this for unemployment. But I've done first round interviews with 3 roles. One role closed, and then 2 roles rejected me. So still waiting to hear back from the other 6. Even though I've interviewed for honestly 10 years at this point, starting in college and interviewing for internships and full-time offers, I feel like I always fall back into this really desperate mindset where once you start interviewing for a role, you just want it so badly and ignore all the red flags, which I should know by now. I've done that in the past, taken the job, and then I regret it a year later. So I'm trying really hard this time to just be observant and analyze everything and to not force anything. I'll keep you guys posted if I get second rounds.
First, I just want to say thank you. As y'all saw, that was a very emotional day for me, but I was not expecting all of those comments and for y'all to be so supportive. So I just want to say thank you. And a little bit about me. So I am going on almost 8 years of experience in the UX design field. For the last few years, I've been focusing on content design. So I was doing a lot of things like information architecture, style guides. I worked on different design system teams, so doing stuff like that. I'm also wanting to focus more on accessibility. So right now I'm studying for the CPAC exam, which is a exam that certifies you in accessibility. So for my next roles, I want something that is either in accessibility or content design, or maybe even both, if I can find that.
So I got laid off last week due to reduction in force, which pretty much means the company was not doing well financially and they had to cut costs, so they laid off a bunch of people, which is pretty common in the tech startup world. And I am 1 weekend into my job search, updated my resume, took some time first to relax and all of that. But I'm just here to tell if you're looking for a new job, if you're searching for a new job right now, to just hang in there. I really feel the market is actually much better than what it used to be early in the year, or even 2023, where we saw tons of layoffs and companies being on hiring freeze and no new opportunities in the market. I really think it is better now from just very few days of searching for companies and looking on websites and stuff. And if there's also any good thing that came out of the election results, I feel it's that the economy will start to be better. I've heard it from multiple people already, and I'm starting to see it in companies as well, with more open positions, higher salary ranges, and things like that. So if you're looking for your next opportunity, just hang in there, and I'm sure you'll land an amazing job.
As someone who is still at a tech company that's done massive layoffs recently,
as someone who is at a tech company that has had their second round of layoffs recently, I just wanted to explain how the atmosphere changes from layoff 1 to layoff 2. I highly recommend you go watch the video I stitched, because it talks about kind of the nuance of remaining in a company after layoffs happen. But recently my company did their second round of layoffs, and I wanted to describe kind of the differences in the atmosphere. After the first round of layoffs, there's all those guilt feelings and all that. But when it comes to number 2, everyone is already used to the fact that layoffs could happen. I think that there's initial shock, oh, we thought there weren't going to be any more. But after you do it the first time, the horror of it goes away, and everyone just starts talking about factually why it's the best solution. I've never seen a group of people turn so quickly. For example, in this most recent one we did, it was mostly sales oriented. The first time it was mostly product and, other departments. And just how quickly everyone turns on sales astounds me. Like, the rhetoric that's going on behind the scenes can be like, oh, well, we overhired during COVID because we were doing good during COVID. Those are still people, those are people whose paycheck are typically commission based. So, if you take into account that maybe, yes, we did overhire during that period of time, they're commission based. So because we overhired, they did not make as good of commission as they could have if we underhired and they had more pool of sales to go through. So you can imagine that they're most likely already having difficulty surviving on their pay. They're the ones getting cut. And so if anything, in my opinion, we should be giving more grace to this round because, one, they're being laid off during the biggest season of layoffs. Our first round happened before the curve so that people had a chance to really find jobs. During the first round, I had friends who were employed within 2 weeks. During this round, it's going to be way harder for people, especially with these types of roles that were let go, like sales, to be able to pivot easily and find a new job. They're entering an entirely different market, and just a complete lack of empathy that exists now for the second round blows my mind, because they should be given more empathy because it is more difficult now than it was when we did that in the fall. Like, my brain is exploding.
I think I'm gonna get laid off today. It is Wednesday, January 10th. Okay, here's proof. Tomorrow there's going to be a big reorg announced, and I think that I could get laid off. Twitch just announced their big layoffs yesterday, so that scares me. It could happen to me too. I mean, it is what it is. Nobody is safe. Crossing my fingers. We got a cryptic message this morning that there is an emergency 10 a.m. all hands, which is 30 minutes. I am 95% sure there's gonna be mass layoffs, and I am 90% sure I am part of that. Ugh. This is the first time I really felt threatened for my life, and I kind of want to puke. Wow, bro. I'm not shaking, but I'm not breathing either. This sucks. It's like the anxiety of knowing that you could get chopped off and it's not your fault whatsoever. Shitty feeling. I'll let you know what happens. 10 a.m. Time to get laid off. I'm not ready.
And each time felt different. The first time I was pretty naive and optimistic because I had never in my life not had a job. Like, I've always had 2 jobs since I was 14. But I also was like blindly optimistic because I didn't realize how difficult it could actually be to rebuild a career. And but the second time felt a little worse because I felt like I had finally got my footing somewhere and then was let go again. But the third time was by far the worst because I was like, okay, is this a me problem? I was extremely desperate and I was sick of reaching out to the same people because I had built a network over my professional career, and then every time I would get laid off or you network with people and it's like back again looking for another job, which is uncomfortable. And these are all people who thought highly of me, and then to have to keep telling them I'm back, it's I don't want them to have a judgment.
Of course, and even though it was nothing to do with you, even though it was just completely bad luck. So
yeah. A few weeks ago, I was told that my role was being eliminated and that the product that I was working on was being totally abandoned by the company. I was obviously surprised, sad, upset, angry. So I did 4 things in the initial layoff conversation that helped me avoid ultimately getting let go. And the 4th one is really weird, but incredibly effective. First, I kept emotion out of it. In order to think clearly, I completely postponed my emotional response to it. And when you first get the message on Slack or Teams or whatever internal tool you use to communicate, hey, can you talk? And it's super last minute, you normally have some sense that it might be a layoff conversation, or at least I did. And I didn't respond to that message immediately. I took about 5 minutes to think, okay, if this is a layoff conversation, what am I going to do? Second, I asked immediately about any other open roles at the company, and I expressed my sincere interest in staying at the company. Third, I confirmed how much time I had. it's incredibly important to know, is this layoff effective immediately, or do you have some time to network internally? Fourth, and this is super weird, but express empathy for the person who's giving you the news. And I know it sounds weird because you're like, wait, I'm the victim in this situation. But the person who's giving you the news, A, might also be impacted. They might also be losing their job. They definitely did not wake up that morning thinking, man, I want to have a layoff conversation today. They also are in a bad position. They don't want to give you this bad news. So expressing empathy for their position and saying, man, this must be really hard for you as well, is more likely to get you empathy in return. If you have any questions about this, feel free to put them in the comments. I will answer all of them and follow for more.
Gen Z boss and a mini, Gen Z boss and a mini, itty bitty titties and a bob, itty bitty titties and a bob, 5'3" and an attitude, 5'3" and an attitude, secret product in a trench, secret product in a trench, new friend green and a sneaky link, new friend green and a sneaky link, fake 10 hands in a hoop, fake 10 hands in a hoop.
Hi, what's this meeting for?
Unfortunately, today we're cutting staff, and you've been affected. Why are you laughing?
No, sorry, it's
not
you're
funny.
Broke.
What?
That's like so.
That's
embarrassing for
offensive.
you.
That's rude.
No, I mean, you should have told me. I didn't know you guys were this poor.
We're not poor. The market shifted.
It's really cringe. I mean, can't we just start a GoFundMe or something? Like,
That
I
won't
can
be
help you
necessary.
guys out. It's not a big deal. This just isn't a good look, girl. It's giving, it's giving poverty, honestly.
That is very offensive. We're going
Really
to report this.
embarrassing for you. I was doing 3 people's jobs anyway. Bye.
Make sure to send your lap.
Hi friends, this is an update from the life of being completely unemployed. I have applied to many jobs. A lot of them were referrals too, which helps, I guess. However, it's been real rough in these streets. I have gotten 1 or 2 interviews, all like kind of first round stuff, and just obviously haven't heard back from a lot of different companies. I know it takes time, but it's hard when all I want to do is be productive, have a job, feel secure. It's tough. However, I've had a lot of time to reflect, and one of the things that I really need to work on is my hyper independence, because I absolutely despise asking people for help. Don't get me wrong, this does not mean that I don't like helping people. I actually love helping people. But when it comes to me asking for help, I have a very hard time with it, and I don't know why. It just makes me feel like I'm bothering people. Does anybody relate to that? What's been really cool though is that some of y'all who are seeing my I got laid off TikTok have actually added me on LinkedIn and offered to refer me. And that is so goddamn nice. I cannot explain to you what a kind thing it is to do that for somebody who has just lost their job. It's actually helping me want to ask for help more, and just knowing that strangers are out there out of the goodness of their heart, or maybe they relate to what's going on, or whatever the reason is, I appreciate it. And I guess I just need to make more of an effort to let people know I need help. I need help with referrals. If you hear of any jobs, I'd love to be considered. Whatever it is, I basically I can't do it alone. It takes a village. Anyway, I'm sorry for the long rambly update, but I just felt the need to come on here and say something because it's been a while since I last updated, and still unemployed, but fingers crossed.
So they laid off 19,000 people at my former employer today. I got laid off from there last year, and I worked there for 24 years. And something about today, I handled my layoff quite well. I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't sad or didn't have any emotions. Of course I did. After 24 years getting laid off, that sucks. But I kind of have handled it pretty well emotionally. Specifically, I've been a lot better at navigating it than I thought I would be. But today, a year plus later, seeing the announcement today of 19,000 people losing their jobs, and not only that, they decimated the benefits package for the people that are still there. And I have a feeling they're going to cut people's pay and all kinds of stuff, which is just horrible. And it enraged me in a way today that I can't even explain how angry I was. I worked in my backyard on some landscaping for like 2.5 hours. I cut my hand. I broke my power washer. I aggressively pruned a lot of trees in my backyard. But when I finally like kind of came down and, you know, relaxed and chilled out a little bit and like felt the rage dissipate, it was the news articles, the news articles and the comments from the C-suite that enraged me, because it's sort of like basically the emperor has no clothes. And I know I wasn't the only one working there that raised the flags on certain things. You know, it just have a bad taste in my mouth about the whole thing today, and I'm feeling really sad about people losing their job in a job market that already sucks shit. Corporate greed. 2 thumbs down.
I got a random meeting on my calendar. I feel like, and there's a bunch of them on this other lady's calendar. I hope I'm not getting fired. I will die. Someone else is in there. I'm getting fired. Oh my God, I'm getting fired. Hello.
Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I asked who I think you know to join us for this call. She is our HR representative. We've got some updates we'd like to share with you this morning.
Okay.
So as you know, we have been working with to help us identify the best way forward for this last period of time. And while we originally believed that we would be integrating with, we've instead determined that it was best for us to refocus the agency to an independent agency. And in doing so, we've initiated a buyback of it. Unfortunately, as you may know, the lack of growth and the decline in our client revenue has negatively impacted our business beyond what we can sustain. And it's forced us to make what are very difficult decisions to eliminate roles within the agency. And this includes the elimination of your role, making today your last day. Please know that it was a very difficult decision. You made meaningful contributions to the last couple of years, and we have the utmost respect and gratitude for what you've done and what you've given. At this point, I would love to turn over to you so she can take you through some of the next steps.
Email meeting up shortly. And, you know, once you get the chance to review and look everything over, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather. I wish you the best.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
I work for a tech company that has been around for 20 years and has never done layoffs. It's always been a part of their kind of culture and mission, something they've been able to say. And this morning they announced their first round of layoffs. And I have not been affected yet. As of right now, I'm not getting laid off in this round, but that doesn't mean that I'm not soon. And it just goes to show how job security really just does not exist anymore. Working for a company that has never done layoffs for 20 years does not mean that they're not going to just lay you off tomorrow. Unless you work for yourself, you are so replaceable at a drop of a dime. There's people that have been laid off that have worked for this company for 8-10 years. Some of them, these people have been around since I've been in middle school that are getting laid off. And I feel guilty because I still have a job and they don't, but also like it's not my fault, but I just don't know how to.
Big tech has been on a crazy firing spree this last year, and as a person who works in the industry, let's talk about it. It started back in 2021. Investors started pouring money into big tech, and naturally they started hiring, and they kept hiring and hiring. Into 2022, they kept hiring and hiring and hiring. Eventually they realized they had a problem. They had a whole bunch of employees, but no money coming in from investors. So naturally, as a business owner, I decide to cut costs. So I'm gonna take all these extra people out. But then I realized that I'm at full capacity. I don't really need full capacity, because if I have Curry and LeBron on the same team, well, LeBron's useless because Curry can carry on his own. And just about this, I can operate off of this. But now the problem is, there's no jobs to go around, so what do? Take this juice and start pouring it into yourself. You can start by doing maybe a master's, certification, and start up-leveling your own knowledge base so that you can be more appealing to these tech companies. Another thing you can do is maybe try to go to research opportunities at universities, because universities, they provide education, but they have a lot of money. They're really a business.
So I just survived another layoff office, and I was like, why is it so empty today? And then lo and behold, I opened my laptop and read a few emails, and then I figured out why. I just got off a call with my director that I am safe. But that, like, all being said, I think I'm just so used to layoffs at this point. I always say, specifically on my channel, like, if you are somebody that really wants 100% job security, this is not the field to get into. Yes, there is a lot of benefits when it comes to, like, working from home, job flexibility, job growth, honestly, pay. But if you're someone that really does not want to encounter any layoffs within their career path, this is not a career to get into. I've also gotten to a point that I feel like I've been able to grow my network pretty well outside of my company. And because of that, not that I feel confident that I'll find another job, but like, I just feel confident that I'll figure it out. I also am a person that I feel like you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, meaning that I'm 25 right now, but I've been trying to work on trying to find other streams of income. One of them, obviously, social media. But if one day, God forbid, or if it happens, like I were to get laid off, like I want to make sure that I have a security blanket and I have other streams of income somehow, so I can cushion myself to then give myself time to find another job or another opportunity.